Welcome to the Turf and Touchdowns podcast. We are back focusing on horse racing again this week. A fantastic week for us last week, but we'll get into that in a moment. Luke Elder, once again alongside Tom Collins, who is back in civilization. Welcome back.
It's cold. It is so cold. Despite the fact it's actually really nice weather, I've been told over the last 6 weeks since I've been away, it's been horrendous.
Yeah.
But it's quite nice outside.
Well, I like the fact that you've got me, summer haircut, get it all chopped off. Like, light top. It's a light top. Long sleeves, yes, but it's light. And then you got Tom in, like, the thickest hoodie that's ever been seen. Like, what is Capo Training Club? Is that where you went?
It's a new unsponsored venture for the podcast. Capo Training Club, whoever you are, if you are watching this, come on, sponsor us.
Definitely got that from a sales rack.
Excuse me, this is expensive.
Is it?
It actually was, yeah.
There's a lot of material there. It looks it. Last week, Tom, we did good. We did good in the Fountain of Youth. We both put up separate horses, but I think we had the same sort of 1-2, and they did finish 1-2 as well. Sovereignty, he looked rusty early on, but then he ran down River Thames, who led for a large part of the contest, except for the line. But a 1-2, and I believe the forecast paid about 12-1. So well done to anyone who managed to get on that.
Yeah, we did a good job last week. River Thames, I thought, ran well. He was always in the right spot. Sovereignty overcame adversity. He was only 80% fit going into the race, Bill Mott said. But on the basis of that effort, my anti-post Kentucky Derby bet is firmly alive. I think he's got leading claims. And I believe we're going to see him next in the Florida Derby. If that's the case and he wins, he'll probably go to Churchill Downs as one of the favourites. But yeah, it was a really enjoyable race with our two horses going to the wire together. And shout out to anyone who did watch the podcast last week, purely because I forgot to tweet it. So the people that did watch it are the subscribers, the diehards, and you would have been rewarded.
Yeah, fun fact about the podcast, you should advertise it, because I forgot as well.
It wasn't a good week from us.
No, on the podcast, gonna be honest, nailed it. Like 10 out of 10 podcast, really good stuff. But we just didn't tell anyone that we did it.
This is a great link. This is why it pays to be subscribed.
Exactly. If you subscribe, you get 12-1 forecast left, right, and centre. I would say we do it every week, but we're not far off it. In the year of 2025, I think we've done 5 or 6 podcasts, and we put up like 4 1-2s in those podcasts. Yeah. So we're not doing too badly. With Sovereignty, by the way, he's 12-1 for the Kentucky Derby now. You put him up at 33s a while ago, with 25s when we were recording last week. Big positive for him is that Barnes came out, and Barnes looked very moderate in defeat.
Yeah, journalism looked really good in victory, but Barnes did look quite moderate. I've always said this about him, and I know it sounds like classic after timing, but I've never been with him in any of his races, despite the fact, he's had this high reputation. He's quite small, isn't he? For a Bob Baffert trainee, you generally expect the Bob Baffert horses to be quite big, bull-like, Citizen Bull, e.g., and kind of just keep going off the front. We're going to be talking about a similar type to that. A horse that's big will keep going off the front in this preview. But Barnes isn't like that. I don't think Barnes is a number one from the Baffert yard. I think Cornucopian looks better.
Yeah, he's currently about 33-1 for the Kentucky Derby at the moment, but plenty more water to pass under the bridge. However, if you are on Sovereignty at those sorts of prices, you're in pretty good company at the moment, and you're doing fairly well for yourself. But we're going to look at the Beholder Mile this week. Just a reminder that if you haven't subscribed, you may well have missed out on our winners last week due to faux pas on our part. That won't happen again this week, but if you do subscribe, that would be fantastic. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Just a little update as well. We're going to do, I know I keep saying this every week, we're going to do NFL end of this month, start of next month is when we're going to start with free agency. Lots of things going on there. Make sure you're subscribed for those. As we look at the Beholder Mile, Morning Line has Cavalieri as the 9-5 market leader. We'll just go through horses one by one here, because we've only got 6 of them, Tom. Richi is the inside draw, one of the Bob Baffert runners in here, comes off the back of posting quite a nice figure last time around. Concern regards the trip?
Potentially, yes. I do think she's going to be part of the speed. She's, in a mile West Coast race, Grade 1, and there are 2 Bob Baffert horses. It's kind of obvious how the pace setup's going to work out. They're going to send the Baffert horses forward. They're going to try and control the pace up front and then hopefully kick off the turn. That's always Baffert's technique. Richi being drawn in Gate 1, she is usually more of a tracker a stalker. But I think they're going to have to use her early, otherwise she will get boxed in. She was a champion in Chile. She won a couple of Group 1s there. 3 races in the US. 2 slightly disappointing efforts, maybe not disappointing, but just below expectation, and then 1 victory. But that 1 victory came against a Bob Baffert stablemate
Mhm.
who was coming back off a 300+ day layoff. So I don't really know what she beat that day, despite the fact that she wasn't sent off at a very short price. In her 2 defeats, she's looked good. She hasn't looked great. And I think there are better horses in this race.
Yeah, I agree. I thought last time around she just looked limited. Honestly, there was a lack of tactical speed at the right point in the contest. I think she'll sit closer this time around. I think they're going to have to, but yes, she ran to a speed figure of 99, which I mean that's just about the best sort of recent run that we've got in this contest. But I think it's quite an inflated speed figure, honestly, and not one that I'd be rushing to trust. That's Richi, the one of the Baffert runners. Antonio Frazier taking the ride. Hoosier Philly is the Amos runner. Umberto Rispoli taking the ride. 8-1 on the morning line. Look, the last 2 efforts from Hoosier Philly have been very good, but he's going to need a lot more here, even so.
Yeah, she's a 6-time winner. 4 of those have come in stakes races and 1 at Grade 2 level. So we know that she's capable, but this is Grade 1. This is a step up. Recently, she's been performing to a high level, as you say. They've been solid, but she's only recorded 1 victory in her last 5 starts, and that came at prohibitive odds in a terrible fairground stakes race on Boxing Day. And she dictated, forwardly placed, and they went slow up front. So everything went in her favour. Recently, she's been running slightly below what I think it will take to win this event. But Tom Amos doesn't have too many runners on the West Coast. I think this is his first runner at Santa Anita in the last 12 months. So it's an interesting placement for Hoosier Philly. She's not for me, though. She's going to have to come from behind the leaders, and it's just very unlikely that she's going to be able to back run them.
Has any horse won a Grade 1 in California after being beaten at Sam Houston on
Uh,
their next start?
I will go for no.
I don't know the numbers on that, but it's going to be a strong no from me. But that's what
Yeah.
Hoosier Philly is trying to do. And one horse standing very much in her way is Cavalieri, back to the Bob Baffert runners now. Juan Hernandez taking the ride. This the first string of the Baffert team. Look, last time around, I thought she looked very good. She's undefeated in 3 starts. I thought maybe Juan Hernandez could have been harder on her. I think she's a strong stayer in a race like this. She really hit the line well. I know she's dropping down ever so slightly in trip, but I think Juan Hernandez, if he goes hard on this horse, she's going to take a lot of beating.
Well, she's definitely going to be on the front. As I say, I think Richi will push forward from the inside. Cavalieri will come from 3. They'll sit next to each other, being first and second, and try and create kind of a barricade for the horses in behind. Richi will then quicken up off the turn. Cavalieri will match. And isn't Cavalieri just a better stayer?
Yeah.
She's unbeaten in 3 outings, as you say. Her maiden, she didn't really beat much, but she did it impressively. Then she came back in an allowance race and looked pretty good. But I thought last time was the real test of just how good Cavalieri is. You know, with some of these Baffert horses, they win maidens that are just pretty weak on the West Coast. And then they're immediately sent up in grade, and we see whether they're good or not. I was unsure about Cavalieri, to be honest with you, going into the last race. But when she won, I was very impressed. Not only because of the way she did it, not only because of the way that she remained unbeaten, but crucially, in the final 100 yards, Alpha Bella, who we'll talk about in a second as she reopposes, she came alongside. She was about to launch a challenge.
Mhm.
Juan Hernandez looked to his right, saw Alpha Bella, gave Cavalieri 1 smack, and she instantly quickened again. It was a sign of a horse that had plenty left in the tank. And considering the amount of upside she has in this race, being undefeated in just 3 outings, she deserves to be favourite.
What sort of horse do you think she could be? Because the Breeders' Cup's back in California this year. Are we looking at a potential distaff horse?
Yeah, I don't think that's beyond the realms of possibility. You know, she's unbeaten. This is a proper test. This is her first try in Grade 1 company, but we know that Bob Baffert does this from year to year, really, with these 3-year-old fillies. He pitches them in, they improve, they get better, and then they come to the Breeders' Cup and they're still unbeaten. And we're thinking, well, this could be an absolute beast. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case with Cavalieri. She looks really good so far. She's going to handle more distance. She's a nice horse.
And just before we move on to the next in Ultimate Authority, we've seen the prices now, and literally we saw the morning line just before we came on to record this. What price were you expecting regards to Cavalieri?
On the morning line, I was probably expecting about 7 to 5.
Mhm.
So what is it, 7 to 4 on the
Nine to,
morning line?
nine to
Can't
five.
remember. 9 to 5, yeah. So that's probably a little bit higher than I was anticipating. But then you told me the international market prices, and that I think is very gettable. I think her SP will be around even money to 5 to 4.
Yeah, I think even money. I would boredom maybe just on the side of odds on if I was going one side or another, but even money I think is about right. 7 to 4 on the international market at the moment. So that's a price that very much you could take advantage of. Ultimate Authority is on the international market currently 16 to 1 outsider of the field. Understand why for the Tim Yak team was good last time around, but again, that's just in a much lower grade. They're really fast tracking this horse to Grade 1 company.
Yeah, that was definitely a career best last time in an allowance race over the course and distance. At least she ticks the track and trip boxes. When you're trying to, work out who's going to win a race, you try and find faults and positives for horses. She has some positives, but this step up in grade is a big jump up, as you say. More importantly, in her career, I think she's had 6 starts. 2 times she's run terribly. Both of those efforts were the only 2 times she hasn't had Lasix. No Lasix here.
Yeah, it's a big concern on that side of things, and potentially from a class angle as well. Tarifa, Tarifa. At one point in her career, I think most will go American horse players and handicappers have thought that this horse could be top class, like genuine Grade 1, best of the best in her division. I know I have. I know you have. She's just been a touch underwhelming, honestly. She last time around got whooped by Loved in Grade 3 company. I just don't really know where to place her anymore. I think she's got her level, and that's that.
Yeah, she was a very precocious type, as you say. In her 3-year-old season, right at the start of her 3-year-old season, she looked like she could be anything. And I was, as you say, I thought she was going to be one of the best, but just hasn't developed. Her only subsequent victory since I think it was March last year came in the Mother Goose, a Grade 2 up in New York, and it was an absolute slog. And she won by a narrow margin in a blanket finish. Since then, she hasn't looked great. Before that, she didn't look great. I don't like Mike Smith booking. Look, Brad Cox, when he sends a horse to the West Coast, has to be respected, as he does wherever he sends his horses, really. But for me, I have to look elsewhere. She's a horse that just hasn't progressed as we anticipated.
The one thing I don't mind about her for this is that they're sending her to California, which ultimately you do find easier races than going over towards the East Coast. But at the same time, she's just a very hard horse to trust at this sort of level. The final horse we'll talk about is one that we know quite a bit about, actually, compared to the favourite Cavalieri and Alpha Bella, because Alpha Bella saw the backside of Cavalieri last time around. Honestly, it wouldn't shock me if Alpha Bella were to finish second. She's currently 7 to 1 in the international market. She was my idea of who might follow Cavalieri home.
I think we might have the same forecast. Me too. Somehow she's only won 3 of her 19 starts. That is absolutely ludicrous for a horse of the talent of Alpha Bella. She's been placed on an extra 9 occasions. She's a horse that often falls short. And the reason for that is she has loads of ability. She runs at the top level. But her challenge is a short-lived one.
Yeah.
She makes a bold bid off the turn and then she fails to sustain that effort all the way to the line. And we see it time and time again with her. It's not like she completely capitulates late, but she turns up her cadence, increases her acceleration, and then she just cannot stick with it and she gets tired. That run behind Cavalieri I thought was solid, but on that evidence, it's impossible to see her beating Cavalieri, especially with this pace setup. But I wouldn't be surprised from a good outside gate if she stalks, launches her challenge around the turn, and Cavalieri fights her off once again.
Yeah, I completely agree on that part. Look, Cavalieri is 7 to 4 favourite over here. Alpha Bella is currently 7 to 1 in the international market. So just take you through the whole of that market. Cavalieri 7 to 4, Richi 5 to 2, Tarifa 7 to 2, 7 to 1 Alpha Bella, 12 to 1 Hoosier Philly, and 16 to 1 for Ultimate Authority. Those prices obviously they may well change depending on how quickly you've managed to watch this video, but I'm just going to put it out on the line, Tom. I know we're agreeing on a selection. I literally only see one winner in this race, and that's Cavalieri. I'd be shocked if she can't win this.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think Cavalieri is by far the most likely winner. She's going to get everything suitable for her. The only thing she needs to do is break cleanly and run to what she did last time. I think even that kind of a repeat of that effort will be good enough, but she's likely to improve as well, given she's lightly raced. Bob Baffert dominates these races. It's hard to take her on. And the current price of 7 to 4 in the international market, if you are watching this from Europe or England specifically, you can grab that 7 to 4. I think that's very, very fair.
Yeah, it's a price that you will have value on as well, because undoubtedly Cavalieri will go off a fair bit shorter at the weekend. But Cavalieri at 7 to 4 at the moment is a fair price and is a strong selection for both myself myself and Tom, and I assume from what we said, we're sort of pushing aside the reverse forecast and just playing the straight forecast with Alpha Bella.
Yeah, I might have a few quid on it, to be fair. Forecasts are much more your bag than mine. Usually I just play singles, but in this instance, with Alphabella being quite a nice price and Cavalieri also being overpriced, I think the forecast is quite tasty. So I'll probably have a few quid on that and also play Cavalieri to win.
Yeah, albeit do monitor those markets throughout the course of the week regards to prices. And if you did miss the price, watch us earlier next week, because the prices do change. And sometimes after the podcast gets released, especially off the back of another 1-2 for us last week, albeit nobody got to see that part. Tom, what are we going to talk about next week?
It's a great question. I think it's the Whitmore next week at Oaklawn, so that could be an option. It's not a week where we're saying, wow, there's grade ones here, grade ones there. It's a bit of a down week, but there is the Whitmore at Oaklawn. There's also the Virginia Derby and the Virginia Oaks at Colonial. So we'll see how the races pan out, the entries and declarations, and then we'll make a decision. But it'll be one of those three, I imagine.
Would you like to know some real good news as well, Tom?
I would. Go on.
The long wait is over.
For
us
to
be on Sky Sports Racing. It's been 5 months. It's been 5 long months where they just kept us apart. It's been horrible. It's been horrific. But we're back. Me and Tom are live on Sky Sports Racing this Saturday. We'll be taking you through the early part of the night together, and then I'll go home and watch Cavalieri absolutely bolting in the Beholder Mile. When was the last time you were actually on full stop?
To be fair, I had 1 week back. You know, I've had 7 weeks away, but in the middle I had 1 week back, and I did a Saturday then. But before that, it was around Christmas time. Quite a while.
I hope you remember what you're doing.
Don't you worry. That 7 weeks away was not a holiday. I have been doing this.
That is this week's Turf and Touchdowns episode. Cavalieri for both myself and also Tom. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel. You'll be alerted to whenever our videos come out, NFL alike, in the near future as well. Leave a comment, subscribe, and share it. Tell all your friends about the Turf and Touchdowns podcast, where we're trying to find winners each and every week. Until next week, when we'll be previewing something else, have a very good weekend of punting. Stay safe. Look after one another. Goodbye.